Hello, my name is Kristen Carter, and I will be providing your STAAR and TELPAS accessibility updates today. I am a school counselor at Hogg Middle School, and this accessibility update has come from the Student Assessment Division at the Texas Education Agency. Looking at your STAAR accessibility updates for 2018, notice that there will be these accessibility updates will be repeated throughout the PowerPoint and will be expanded upon. But to kind of give you an overview of what we're looking at today, we're going to be looking at the new and updated online embedded supports and tools, which include that the content and language designated support is now one online embedded support. Students are eligible for this support and will receive both of them in the online system if determined by a select committee. Also looking at some policy changes, dictionaries for reading and writing are no longer a designated support and are part of the STAAR dictionary policy. And the authority for decisions for math manipulatives and supplemental aids has been expanded to include additional campus teams such as RTIs and SSTs. So what exactly does accessibility mean? So it means that we are ensuring that each student can interact appropriately with the content presentation and response mode of the test. It means that assessment should allow all test takers to demonstrate their knowledge of the content being tested without the format of the assessment, non-tested language, or the type of response needed to answer the question being a barrier to their test ability. And in order to meet this goal, we have various features and supports made available on paper and the online test to students who use the same or similar supports during classroom instructions. Note that the features and supports are two different types of accessibilities and that we can provide to students. You will notice that there is an accommodation resource webpage available through the TEA website. When you are looking at this TEA website, which I strongly encourage everybody to go to, there are 2 years posted, the 2017 accessibility resource page and the 2018 accessibility resource page. It is a little bit confusing given the fact that we are in 2017, but that accessibility resource page is only applicable to the December tests for high school. Anybody else needs to be looking at the 2018 accessibility resource page, as that is the testing year that we are on. We are on the 2018 testing year. Therefore, all of the spring tests are on the apply to the 2018 accessibility resource page. From there, you will pull up there what you see there on the right, and all your 2018 accessibility features will be listed, and that is what you're going to want to focus on for the most of the time. Looking at your accessibility features, I'm going to go through these verbatim. These are for any student. There is nothing for them to qualify for, and no committee needs to make a decision. Campus testing coordinators, though, do need to know if a student needs one of these. So it is important for teachers to be communicating to your testing coordinators so that testing coordinators are made aware, hey, my kid needs this for a particular test. So what are these accessibility features? It's signing test administration directions, translating test administration directions, bilingual dictionaries, which are the word-to-word translations with no definitions or examples for math, science, and social studies assessments. Reading their test aloud to self using a PVC pipe or recording device. Reading aloud or signing the expository or persuasive writing prompt. Reading assistance on the grade 3 math test. Scratch paper or any medium that can be erased or destroyed. Cover overlays or online color setting. Blank place markers or online guideline tools. Magnifying devices or online zoom features. Highlighters, including the online tool, colored pencils, or crayons. Tools to minimize distractions or to help maintain focus, like a stress ball, headphones, earplugs, instrumental music, etc. Individual or small group administration. Reminders for students to stay on task. And then new for 2018, we also have a sticky note tool that has been added to the online system, the use of amplification devices such as speakers or FM systems, and the use of projection devices such as a closed-circuit television or an LCD projector for an online test. So what do you need to know about accessibility features? These are important guidelines for teachers to know. So what do you need to know? You need to know that these can be used for those who regularly benefit from the use of these procedures or materials during instructions, but they must be used within the guidelines of TEA. There is no need to document the use of accessibility features in student paperwork or on an answer document or in the assessment management system. A student may need to complete the test in a separate setting in order to eliminate distractions to other students and then to ensure that the security and confidentiality of the test is maintained. An example of this may be reading the test aloud to self. And a student cannot be required to use them during testing. You can show a student how to use this during class, but you cannot force them to use this during the testing time. Looking at those locally approved designated supports, please note that we have moved on from accessibility features and that designated supports will have the requirement of a student being have the approval of a committee to be eligible for these supports. A committee might be an SST committee, an LPAC committee, a 504, an ARD, etc. And each individual designated support has a page through TEA that you can look at to see what kind of committee can approve that particular support. So under these designated supports, we have new ones for 2018. We have the content and language supports being combined into one embedded support. Dictionaries for reading and writing in grades 3 through 5 are no longer designated supports and are part of the dictionary STAAR policy now. The STAAR calculator policy now includes the use of calculators for the grade 8 science. An authority for decision for math manipulatives and supplemental aids has been expanded to include additional campus level teams such as RTI and SSTs. We have locally approved designated supports. There are 12 of those supports, and TA has organized them in a particular order. Again, these must be approved by an appropriate team of people at the campus level. Each document in the accommodation policy is organized in the same way. You've got a description of the accommodation, the assessment, the student eligibility criteria, the authority for the decision and the required documentation, examples and types, and special instructions and considerations. Here are your 12 designated supports. You've got basic transcribing, Braille, calculation aids, content and language supports, extra time, individualized structured reminders, large print, manipulating test materials, math manipulatives, oral sign test administration, spelling assistance, and supplemental aids. Looking at the oral sign administration, something that has changed in the past couple of weeks is that students for whom only the LPAC committee recommends the use of this support for any reading or writing assessment may not be considered for the exit at the end of the school year. Any other committee that recommends the use of this support for reading or writing may still be considered for exit at the end of the school year. On content and language supports, they have been combined into one embedded support, like I've said before. And again, students whom the LPAC committee only recommends the use of this support for reading or writing may not be considered for exit. If another committee recommends the use of this support, they may still be considered for exit. On extra time, a student should be allowed to continue testing until the end of the regularly scheduled school day, but cannot be required to continue testing until that time. A student should be allowed to leave the testing room when he or she has completed the test. A student for whom the LPAC recommends the use of support for any reading or writing assessment may not be considered for exit at the end of the school year. But again, if they are recommended by another committee, they may be allowed to be considered for exit. There are 4 other supports that require TEA approval prior to being allowed to use them. The eligibility decision must be made by an appropriate team of people at the campus level, and then that is taken to the testing coordinator on the campus, and then they must submit the paperwork to TEA. Those 4 designated supports are complex transcribing, extra day, math scribe, and other. Once this has been sent to the testing coordinator, they will send a request to TEA and wait for approval. Technology guidelines. All technology used during state assessments must adhere to the following guidelines. Test administrators must actively monitor the use of technology. And so if we use electronic assistive devices, we need to make sure that they're set in a mode that locks the user into a specific software program, block the user from accessing functionality that may violate test security, such as the ability to send secure test content, the ability to send or receive any person-to-person communication about secure test content, and the ability to save secure test content. And then we also need to not be able to provide functionality that compromises the curriculum that is being assessed. For those of you that are elementary, make sure that you know that on the grade 4 STAAR writing online that the typing is not a grade 4 TEK. Therefore, the test administrator may transcribe or for example, type the student's response to the written composition into the online test. So what would happen is the student would write their STAAR writing response out, and the test administrator would transcribe it into the online system. This is not a requirement of the administration, and decisions regarding this provision must be based on an individual student need. The test administrator transcribing the student's response must do so in accordance with guidelines for basic transcribing found on TEA's Accommodations Resources webpage. Students in all other grade levels and subjects must meet eligibility requirements for basic transcribing if this accommodation is needed. Again, this goes back to that reading and writing for ELL's exit criteria. Students for whom the LPAC committee alone recommends the following designated supports for any reading and writing assessment may not be considered for exit at the end of the school year. And those are oral administration, language and vocabulary supports, and extra time. Looking at the online STAAR test, there are tutorials that are up and running. All you have to do is access one of our desktop computers or Chromebooks. If you use the tutorials option, you can select the grade, subject, and test available. You know you're in the right place when you see the logo screen and title. Tabs at the bottom of the screen act as a table of contents. Each tab contains a page that explains the online features, tool, and provides a short video. Videos do not have sound except for speak and audio videos. The second page of each tab has a question that you can use to practice with. The questions are not content tests, or do not test content, but are only intended for practice using the feature tool. On the STAAR practice, that is 2016 and 2017 release tests. It's important that you go in, and if you want to use all supports such as pre-reads, TTS, pop-ups, and rollovers, you select all PNP. This is what the front page of the release test would look like once you get logged in, and then you would go through the test. It would look just like this. It's important that you get as many practice times in there for your kiddos as possible so that they have as many options to use as many of the tools as is available to them. So that by the time testing comes around, the students are comfortable and feel like they are prepared to take the online STAAR test. Now looking at the TELPAS update, again this came out in September from the Student Assessment Division at TEA. New this year, this is a change from last year for grades 2 through 12. You will no longer calibrate in listening and speaking, only writing. So I know several of you are probably excited about that. Remember, the general guidelines for calibration have not changed. It must be completed in a monitored setting. You have 2 opportunities to calibrate, but you will only calibrate in writing. So the one thing that is important is that TEA is working to improve the security around TELPAS testing. A lot of people don't realize that TELPAS is a state test. It is just like STAAR because the writing collections come from the classroom. And so we want to reiterate that it is a violation of state assessment procedures and a serious testing irregularity to record, discuss, or share answers to the rating practice and calibration activities. So after completion of the calibration activities, proctors must destroy all notes taken about specific student profiles. So keep in mind that while collaboration is encouraged during the live administration, it's imperative that rater calibration is done individually to ensure that raters are able to apply the proficiency level descriptors, PLDs, accurately and consistently. So here's your 2018 TELPAS and what it looks like. You've got in grades K through 1, it's the your same as 2017, and completely everything is same old grades K through 1. You're looking good. Grades 2 through 12, your online multiple choice reading test has a shorter blueprint. Your listening and speaking tests are now conducted online, and you now have a holistically rated student writing collection. And then now your teachers are serving as TELPAS raters for writing. Complete online basic training component, and all TELPAS raters must complete the monitored online calibration activities annually. So keep in mind that new raters and returning raters who have not completed calibration activities within the last 3 years are required to complete the online basic training course before calibrating. See your testing coordinator if you're unsure about any of that. Your composite score, the TELPAS composite score breakdown: listening is 10%, speaking is 10%, writing is 30%, and reading is 50%. Reading is still 50% even though it's a smaller blueprint this year. If you're looking for release tests, grades 3 through 12 have been released and are posted on the webpage down there at the TEA resource that you see there. Tutorials were supposed to be posted in January when this PowerPoint was created, but we have since gotten a new update that tutorials will be out in November. So hopefully in just about a month we will get some tutorials there. And so they're also on that TEA.gov student.assessment/ELL/TELPAS. You'll be able to see some tutorials here in about a month. So we'll keep you updated on that as we know more. Looking up your TELPAS reading, if you'll look here, this is grades 2, 3, and 4 through 5. Looking across there, you'll see you're going from 49 questions to 30, 58 to 34, 61 to 36. So they're cutting it down quite considerably. Looking at grades 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10 through 12, again, cutting it down quite considerably, 63 to 37. 64 to 37 down there at the bottom. So you're losing quite a few questions there on your reading, so hopefully the kids won't feel quite so overwhelmed. Looking at your reporting categories for grades 2 through 12, reporting category 1, the student will demonstrate an understanding of words and language structures necessary for constructing meaning in English. Reporting category 2, the student will demonstrate a basic understanding of a variety of texts written in English. And reported category 3, the student will demonstrate an ability to analyze and evaluate information and ideas in a variety of texts written in English. TELPAS listening and speaking. Again, this is going to be new because this is going to be online. So your blueprint, it's going to be based on points, based upon your reporting categories. Obviously, looking at listening, your basic understanding there in reporting category 2 is quite a bit heavier than RC1 or RC3 for a total of 27 points. Looking at your speaking, your two reporting categories are pretty even for a total of 36 points. Listening reporting category 1, the student will demonstrate an understanding of spoken words and language structures necessary for constructing meaning in English. Reporting category 2, the student will demonstrate a basic understanding of spoken English used in a variety of contexts. In reporting category 3, the student will demonstrate an ability to analyze and evaluate information and ideas presented in spoken English in a variety of contexts. All right, items will be written to target each of the 4 TELPAS proficiency levels. So it's going to be written for beginning, included picture identification, matching picture to audio prompt. So if they're a beginning level kid, they're going to be trying to do those things. If they're an intermediate kid, it's going to include more complex picture matching. It's going to have picture sequence based on short audio stimulus. And then targeting the advanced to advanced high levels, you're going to include multiple choice, listening comprehension items based on video stimulus written to target those proficiency levels. So, each of those target levels are going to be targeted there within the new listening test. For listening items, the text of the stimulus and/or prompt is not available on the screen. To interact with the online listening items, students will be using click on the correct answer and drag and drop functionalities. There will be multiple choice questions for passage-based and non-passage-based items. Students will have headsets, and all audio is recorded in a studio, so there's no text-to-speech used. And then audio is provided in the stimulus task gray box direction lines. So kind of to just show you what is going on, this right here, this is what the student will hear. This where it says audio click ball. They would press the student would not see this at all. They would click the play button. They would hear click on the ball. So they would then click on the ball. They would see these directions appear in the gray bar. So listen to the audio, follow the directions you hear. They would click the play button. They would listen and then follow the directions. For this one, it would be listen to the audio. Move a picture into the box that best matches what you hear. They would read this right here in the gray box, and then they would click the play button, and they would only hear, not see, this right here. The kitten lies on a blanket with the dog. So they would find the picture that best matches that, click, and actually drag to the box that matches. And then they would click play on button 2, and here the kitten lies together in a blanket. Would not see this audio, but just hear it. So the kittens lie together in a basket, click, and drag to the next one. Again, here's another example. Look at the picture and listen to the audio. Choose the best match to the picture. So they would not see any of these audios. They would simply play, 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 listen to each one of them, and select as a multiple choice which one of these audios that they listen to best fits that picture. For speaking, reporting category 1, the student will demonstrate an ability to use spoken English to provide and summarize information in a variety of academic and social situations. For reporting category 2, the student will demonstrate an ability to use spoken English to share opinions and analyze information in a variety of academic and social situations. So for speaking items, the text of the prompt is available on screen for students to read and also available in an audio file for students to listen to. To interact with the speaking items, students will be using audio capture functionality to record a response, listen to the response, and delete and re-record it if not satisfied with their first response. The important thing to remember with that is that if they delete that first response, they cannot get it back. So down here at the bottom, you see students will have 2 opportunities to record their response. That means that within those 2 opportunities, if they don't like that first one and they get rid of it, they can't get it back. So that second one has to be good. They will wear headsets with microphones. The computer will capture student spoken responses, and they have only 90 seconds to record those responses. Speaking prompts are scored on a 2 to 4 point rubric. 2-point items are fairly simple, such as making a prediction based on a picture stimulus or using a simple map to provide directions. 4-point item types are more open-ended, such as using a series of pictures to explain a multiple-step process, comparing and contrasting, or taking position on an issue and defending that position. So this is what they would see. They would see the gray box and the directions. They could read the directions. Read the information below. You'll be given the map of the directions when you're ready to speak and tell as much as you can. They would also see this. Imagine that you are at the library. You're going to meet your friend at the park. Explain how you would get there. They can also play the directions. Okay? So they could also hear the directions for them as well. Then when they're ready, they would hit the record button down here and record their directions. How are they going to tell them how to get from the library to their friend at the park? So that's how they would get, once they've apparently already recorded it once, they have one more attempt left. They apparently didn't like their first one, so they're going to try it again. This one's the same thing. This is a little more complicated. The first one was a 2-point question. This would be more like a 4-point question. So read the directions below. When you're ready to speak, tell as much as you can. So they could play and listen to the directions while they read along. Imagine you could design your own elective class. Talk about what the class would be like, what would you learn and do in the class, and why would you want to take that class. So this requires them to create their own class and defend why they would want that class. Again, they've already tried once. They didn't like their answer. They would record it again. But the important thing to remember again is they only have 90 seconds to record this answer. So they have to create their own elective class and defend it in 90 seconds. So it has to be quick and concise, and they can't take a long time to speak. Look at the 2 pictures and read the directions below. When you're ready to speak, and tell as much as you can. Again, they can play and listen to these 2 bullet points right here. First, describe at least 2 ways these pictures are similar. Next, describe at least 2 ways these pictures are different. So they can record and talk about 2 ways they're the same and 2 ways they're different. There will be a headset test check. As soon as we're able to check our headsets to see if they're functioning, we will do so before we test. That will be done by the district. Tutorials and release tests should be out in November. We will keep checking on that, and your testing coordinator will let you know just as soon as that is available. General TELPAS info. Keep in mind this is a draft still. Most important thing to know is that your TELPAS assessment window is February 26th through April 6th. January is what CTCs will prepare for testing, and then February to April is what teachers will be involved in. So January is more for your campus testing coordinator, and February to April is what you will be involved in as a teacher. So how is Pearson going to score the speaking? Because a lot of people are concerned about that. So Pearson created these COG labs in Texas where students participated in full online testing. They used the scores from the machine and compared them to human scores to set the parameters. And so what students peek into the machine will be listened to by a human and then transcribed and graded. So there will be some internal consistency, some candidate level correlations, and some item level correlations there. So important planning for this year based on the delayed TELPAS results and language proficiency, the LPAC committees. Listening and speaking will not be scored until the summer because that's when they're going to set the passing standards. So if we want to exit a student, we have to have the LPAC and document pending listening and speaking scores. So once the LPAC documents have been completed, we can follow with letters of exit approval to students who meet the exit level criteria, even if that's towards the beginning of next year. If we get to the beginning of next year and a student has not completed the the LPAC should conduct the EOI. Go ahead and conduct the end of year. So if a student is possible for exit document, so for exit criteria, document pending until results. Use your eSped, your Eduphoria, all your forms just as usual. At the beginning of 2018-2019, after we get the results, then we'll review, and either the student will exit or they will not exit. They will, if they don't exit, they will remain in the bilingual ESL program. If they do exit, then the LPAC does not have to meet again and discuss the ELL's exit decision because they were going to exit pending the results. There are headphone recommendations, and they are being ordered, but here's what they are should you be interested in what they're going to look like. So what do you need to do? What do teachers need to do now? Incorporate writing in all content areas as much as possible. That's going to make it a smooth transition to gathering writing samples for TELPAS in the spring so that kids aren't confused as to what's going on when TELPAS comes around. We need to be looking at TELPAS results from previous years to see if students are progressing. Are they learning English right now? We need to make decisions for designated supports for state assessments, not just TELPAS, but all state assessments to determine their English proficiency, linguistic accommodations and supports, and then plan for instructional interventions as needed. And as always, if you have any questions, please see your campus testing coordinator. If they don't have the answer, they will find the answer for you and get it to you just as soon as possible. I thank you so much for your attention to the STAAR and TELPAS assessment updates. And if you have any questions, please find your campus testing coordinator, and we will get back with you just as soon as we can. Thank you.